Last night at approximately 8:26 p.m., we received a call for service in reference to a pedestrian that was walking down the roadway in the 5400 block of North Crest Village that had been struck by a vehicle, and the vehicle had fled the scene. Our patrol units arrived on the scene and found a 76-year-old elderly Asian male on scene non-responsive. They administered medical aid to the elderly male until an ambulance arrived on the scene. An ambulance was able to transport the male to Houston Northwest Hospital, where he was pronounced deceased at the hospital. Right now it's preliminary information, but the information based on the witness accounts and other investigative tools that we've been able to develop is our suspect vehicle is a Chevrolet Malibu, approximately between 2016 2019 Chevrolet Malibu, and it's going to have side passenger mirror damage and possibly passenger fender damage. And so what we're trying to push out to the public is, if you observe this suspect vehicle or if you know of the individual that was operating this vehicle, to please contact our 24-hour dispatch. They can notify us, they can remain anonymous at 281-376-3472, or they can reach out through Crime Stoppers. We have received numerous investigative leads, but right now we're still in the preliminary investigation part of it. But you know, there's always two sides to a story, and at this point we're just trying to make contact with the driver and touch base with them, interview them, and go from there.
Can you tell us a little bit, do you guys have any information as to what this 76-year-old was doing? Was he just on a stroll, walking in the evening, or do you guys have any ideas?
So we do. So preliminary information, what we've been able to find out is the male does live in the neighborhood. He lived close proximity to where the accident occurred, and it was his daily routine. He would walk the neighborhood with a basket, shopping style basket, and he would walk back and forth. He didn't have means of transportation, and he was known throughout the neighborhood, and he was always visible throughout the neighborhood. So what we know at this point, based on some video evidence that we have, is, you know, he was, you know, going throughout his daily evening routine when that Chevrolet Malibu was moving at a high rate of speed through the neighborhood. You know, keeping in mind that the speed limit through this neighborhood is 20 miles an hour, and you know, we don't have an approximate speed on this vehicle, but through my experience viewing it, he was moving pretty good and struck the male and continued leaving.
Residents and homeowners who live here share with us that this gentleman, as you suggest, this was his routine. And they told us today that they had a fear that something like this would happen, that someone would be struck because there isn't enough sidewalking, and they fear that there aren't enough patrols from Precinct 4. Can you kind of share with us any of those things that could change because of all of this unfortunate incident?
So, yes, sir. So I think the most important thing is to, you know, just be aware of your surroundings. You know, we definitely shift patrols and visibility according to crime analysis and other models. You know, the number one thing is you know, is totally understandable with current crime trends is, you know, cops can't be everywhere. You know, we absolutely ensure that our personnel are where they should be and try to patrol the best methods possible. But it's unfortunate. What I can also add to that is I've been doing this close to 20 years, and I can tell you this week alone we've had a high number of auto pedestrian accidents. I can tell you this is going to be the first fatality. But I was just speaking with our accident investigation team earlier, and we've all, you know, made the same note of just this week alone we've had a handful of auto peds, and you know, investigations are still ongoing onto them, but from experience, a lot of the accidents happen from just drivers not being attentive to what they're doing on the roadway. And so we just ask, you know, the big message is for the drivers to just please pay attention. You know, pay attention to what you're doing. Fortunately for the other cases that we're working, the drivers were able to stop and render aid for the other victims that were struck. And so, you know, we are understanding that, you know, obviously striking an individual at the impact that they were struck at is a traumatic deal, you know, and, you know, but serious consequences. You know, like the consequence in this is a second-degree felony. To flee the scene where serious bodily injury or death occurs, and you fail to stop and report it to law enforcement. So, I mean, it's definitely serious consequences, but I mean, at the end of the day, accidents happen. We're fully aware of that, but you know, it's not worth. Sometimes time's of the essence, and you know, sometimes it can make a big difference from the individual who may have struck somebody calling it in, and it could make a difference between saving a life and not saving a life.
Isn't it at all possible with the environment and the fact that the individual was pushing a basket? Is it possible someone may have hit the basket not knowing they hit someone?
So I don't like getting into possibles, you know, in my job, it's, you know, we try to rely strictly on facts. And so that I can't tell you, but it'd be a great opportunity for, you know, whoever may have struck that individual to come forth and give us their side of the story, so we could put the piece of the puzzle together in that aspect.
I guess the message to the individual, if they might be watching, is come forward, call you all.
Please, and that's all we ask. You know, I mean, you know, there's no way of knowing what's the outcome of this moving forward until we get all the facts and are able to put everything together. So the biggest message of what we're really asking the public, and we're thankful for the news media outlets to be in here to try to bring awareness to this, is that, you know, whoever it is, please come forward. Please share your story, and 'cause we'd like to, you know, get the facts and all of the evidence to close this case out. And then we'd also, you know, it's also a strong reminder of the incident as such to, you know, also as we're moving into a busy summertime, you know, schools getting ready to be out. There's going to be an increase of pedestrians on the roadway, you know, and you know, especially children. So, you know, keeping that in mind at all times, we should be attentive. But please, you know, please utilize your hands-free devices. Please make sure you're attentive while you're driving, because at the end of the day, the majority of these accidents are completely preventable. You know.
Any other information that you can share? I know you mentioned that the victim was pushing a shopping cart. Some might believe that or assume that it might be, you know, I'm not going to say homeless because you said he lived in the area. So any reason why? Did you learn anything else about him that you can't share about who he is?
At this point, this early on in the investigation, I mean, we do have some pertinent information, but I'd like to not release that in respect to the family. And so, you know, at this point, that's what we have.
Is it safe to say, do you know thus far if the victim was disoriented, being that he is learning to come to the shopping cart? I know you said it's part of the daily routine, but any idea or indications of possibly early onset dementia or anything like that? Just trying to rule out those possibilities.
No, I got you, and that's a great question. At this point in our investigation, nothing that's led us to that. Like I said, we're still early in the preliminary part of it, so we're still rolling out a lot of things.
Has family been notified?
Yes, they have.
And are you all still requesting neighbors here to share any ring video, any video footage they may have, or have you all received enough?
So we have received some, but absolutely, if our office hasn't made contact with you and you have any type of footage, you know, between really 8 p.m. and even 9:30 p.m., where a Chevrolet Malibu, maroon in color, is observed on that video, please contact our office. I can tell you that our entire accident investigation team has been working diligently since last night on this case. They've been working throughout the night and all day on this to try to pull any type of video or any other evidence. We've been able to gather quite a bit of video from the neighborhood, but every little piece helps and allows us to piece together the entire scene, and that's what we're looking for. So great question. Please, if you do have video, we haven't made contact with you, please notify us. 281-376-3472, and we'll get a deputy out to obtain that.
Do you believe that driver may live in this neighborhood or within the proximity?
You know, it's early on. You know, typically from my experience, the majority of the time that is usually the case. They live somewhat throughout the area. You know, as this area has significantly increased in population, it's kind of hard to say on this one. You know, we've gotten a lot of opinions, but our investigative leads have kind of taken us throughout many avenues, so it's hard to rule that one out.